My fellow Floridians, our state is in great peril right now. Conspiracy law is in effect in the United States, and I have been installed as the U.S. Queen or Monarch. Several states with leaders who are either Jesuits or are under strong Jesuit brain control have rebelled and separated themselves from the main United States. Florida is one of those states. Governor Rick Scott has lied to you, stating that I am against Publix and want Publix disbanded. Our scientists have determined that Governor Scott is under very strong Jesuit brain control and is clinically insane. He is lying to you about Publix in order to get your support, and has conducted an election and gotten himself installed as king over Florida based on lies. Do you want a king who lies to you to get your support, or even worse, whose brain is under very strong Jesuit brain control? You basically have a king over Florida now who is no better than Adolf Hitler, who was a Jesuit puppet. The Jesuits were behind the Nazi Holocaust. If you go to my website and check the links below, you can see the evidence for Jesuit involvement in the concentration camps.
Our psychiatrists have determined that because Governor Rick Scott has been under Jesuit brain control for a long time, that he's clinically insane and therefore incompetent to hold public office. I suggest that what's left of the Florida police force Baker Act Rick Scott, the leader of Florida, and have him committed to a psychiatric hospital. We need to remove him from office before he does great harm and evil. Another thing that concerns me is that my mother, Miss Sal Fuller, M-I-S-A-O, Fuller, F-U-L-L-E-R, who lives here in Florida, is being manipulated by my criminal sister, Sandra Metcalf, M-E-T-C-A-L-F, to assist Governor Scott to undermine me. Please ensure that my mother is not used to harm me and that all my sister's communications to my mother are monitored. My sister, Sandra Metcalf, M-E-T-C-A-L-F, is a prisoner at Church of Gail Prison for supporting the Jesuit order against me and my men. My sister, Sandra Metcalf, has already committed a felony against me by having me illegally Baker Acted in July 2012 when she prepared a lying statement which she submitted to my mother and urged my mother to submit to a judge, insinuating that if my mother wouldn't do this, that she was negligent and a bad mother. And my mother, like Rick Scott, is under very strong Jesuit brain control. Let me give you some evidence of how Floridians have suffered by tolerating a clinically insane governor. Florida has turned into a very dangerous state. Rick Scott won his election by telling you that we will disband Publix. This is a deliberate lie to discredit me to get him elected. Rick Scott is a Jesuit supporter because he's under their brain control, making him unable to make autonomous or independent decisions. He basically does what the Jesuits want. Vladimir Putin cannot nuke Florida because I am here. He is hesitant to send in ground troops because of all the dangerous Florida wildlife. When he tried, several of our soldiers were eaten by wild Burmese pythons. Jesuits have used their agents to turn Florida into a tropical jungle nightmare. It's especially bad in South Florida. Before Rick Scott took office, South Florida was a safer place. Now it's dangerous to go outside because of all the wildlife that Jesuits have imported into the state, which Rick Scott knows about. So he's supporting it by doing nothing. South Florida is a big, hot, humid jungle full of large reptiles and unpredictable weather, so our ground troops have found it impenetrable. Jesuits have unleashed many of these dangerous reptiles into the wild with Rick Scott's support. There are large snakes, Burmese pythons. Jesuit children buy baby Burmese and reticulated pythons and even anacondas. They did this many years ago and imported them into the state, with Rick Scott knowing all about it because he's a Jesuit supporter. He did nothing. Jesuits grow them to full size and let them loose throughout the state, especially South Florida. Jesuits created these animals to be sleeper weapons for a time like this to prevent ground troops from taking over the state. they have been helping alligators breed also. So there are way more alligators than there should be. There's also a human-animal hybrid they created called the skunk ape that they unleashed into the surrounding forests. And in the northern Florida, the problem is the amount of civilian artillery. Florida is on a dangerous road with this insane king over the state. He is as dangerous as Adolf Hitler, who made up stories about the Jews and had them all hauled to concentration camps. There is no telling what this insane leader will do. He lets Jesuits run rampant in this state without a care, so even if he's not directly working with them, he is still guilty of helping them. He's erected some kind of shield over the state, one we've never seen before. Our scientists are analyzing it. Alaska has also rebelled and elected Sarah Palin as president. It was quickly nuked. Those who did not support Palin fled to Canada. Canada is neutral right now. Most states support me as the U.S. leader, and thus far, the most troublesome states have been Florida and Alaska. You see here in Florida, they've not aired the Gabriel Chana Fox News channel about me to protect me because I live here. So that has created a climate of ignorance about me, which Rick Scott has exploited to become your leader.
Floridians, you need to impeach your king, Rick Scott, because he's clinically insane. If not, Florida is headed for tragedy. He is as dangerous as Adolf Hitler, who was a Jesuit puppet. I suggest that what remains of Florida law enforcement take Rick Scott on the Baker Act and have him committed to a psychiatric hospital, and then we will conduct elections for a new governor over Florida using Section 8 of my conspiracy laws and government to elect the new governor. Florida needs to remain in the United States. I am a good leader and care about my people and the rights and welfare of my citizens. For more about me, refer to the links underneath this video. I appeal to you, Florida, to kick out Rick Scott as your king and choose a new leader who will cooperate with me to build us a United States free of Jesuit tyranny.